Well, howdy YouTube, Unky Joe here, Unky Joe's Playhouse. As promised, this is my follow-up video to, as you know, I moved my NAS from my combination of my Dell R720 and a Dell R710 and moved them over onto my Ryzen 5 1600 unit in the thermal take case that is right behind me there, right above my shoulder. The nice pretty blue lights on it. And today I wanted to cover transferring Plex over to that. So, as you know, we had Plex installed on the Dell R720. It had a low-end video card in there that was doing okay. But I wanted to consolidate kind of all of my home media server storage and server needs on one box and one low-power box. And that's why we moved everything over to the Ryzen 5. So let's go over there and take a look at how that unit is set up. So this is the unit I have called Prometheus, and it is the AMD Ryzen 5 1600. It has 16 gig of RAM. It has an NVIDIA GeForce GTX 950 video card in it. And if I move my pretty face over here for a moment and click down here, you will see that it is indeed running the NVIDIA software. It is running Plex, and it's running MB. Now today what we're going to cover is me basically moving my Plex installation over from my Dell R720, because remember, I had my storage server set up as my Dell R710 and I had my Plex server set up as the R720 that had the lower end grid NVIDIA card in there. That card is incapable of doing H.265. This NVIDIA GeForce GTX 950 will just do H.265. Not that it's a big deal, but in the future, I may want a better video card in there. I can't put really a better video card in that server, in that Dell R720. So, and I wanted to try to, like I said, consolidate all of my audio video onto one server for the home. Now this unit is also running Drive Bender to manage my storage, and you've seen Drive Bender. I've done video after video on it. There is a new version of Drive Bender. I'm currently on version 3.6.0.0 that came out a few months ago. So I'll probably do an updated video on Drive Bender and how to set that up. And so before we get started on moving Plex, and I'm gonna follow this guide right here from support at Plex TV articles. You see the link up here, and I'll try to remember to put the link in the notes down below. Now, very important, this blue part here, if you're switching between operating systems, it may not be possible to retain all preferences. In all cases, it may not be possible to retain any existing server shares that might have been set up on the source installation. Now, this is the very reason that I use a drive letter mapping to my share. So if I come into my Plex and I go into any of my folders here, go to Manage Libraries, and then Edit, you'll see all my folders are on drive letter M. So I've already moved the actual files over to the new server and remapped that drive letter to drive M, so that won't be an issue. It should be able to keep all of my existing information. Now, some of you prefer to use a UNC path to your shares. I prefer to use a drive letter mapping. It's just I've used it for years with Windows shares. So be aware of that limitation. If you don't have that drive letter shared as an actual physical drive letter and you're using a server name, you may lose some of your preferences. So keep that in mind. So the next thing they want you to do is disable the emptying of the trash. So you'll want to go and disable the empty trash automatically every scan. So if I come back over to my Plex setup and go to my settings and go to library, I'm going to disable that empty trash automatically after every scan. I'll go ahead and click on Save Changes. Now the next thing we'll want to do is install Plex Media Server on the destination system. So we're going to go ahead and do that next. So one of the things to be aware of when you install the Plex Media Server on the new computer system, if the setup wizard in the browser launches, just exit out, okay? And then after the installation is complete on the destination system, that's the new machine, Prometheus, we're going to install it on, we want to sign out of our account and then quit the Plex Media Server so that it is no longer running. So let me switch back over to Prometheus here. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm at the Plex Media Server download. And I'm going to click on download. And I recommend, I'm running on Windows Server 2019, so I've used an application called Ninite to download my apps, and I recommend you run this on Chrome. So just be aware of that. I'm going to go ahead and click on my download here, and I'm going to go ahead and just do an install. And it should go out and download everything it needs. And I'm going to click on close. I don't want to run the little wizard. Or did I do that incorrectly? Maybe I want to run Plex but just not run the wizard. So it's installed it. So let's go ahead and click it. And then if the wizard does pop up, then we'll exit out of that. And I'm going to go ahead and sign into my Plex account. So I've signed in. I'm going to click the Got It button. And then once this is done, or once this starts, I'm going to stop the wizard. And I'm going to come back down here and I'm just going to, let's see, open Plex. Going to select my user, enter my PIN number. And then it says to come up here and log out or sign out. I'm going to close that. Then I'm going to come down here and I'm going to exit Plex. Now the next thing we need to do is copy the server data from the source system. So you'll want to make a copy of the content in the Plex Media Server data directory from the source system. First, stop quit exit Plex Media Server on the source, and then see where our Plex Media Server data directory is located. So let me open that. And so it should be under local app data Plex Media Server on Windows inside the user directory. So let's switch over to my Dell R720. Let's go ahead and exit Plex. And then we'll open a File Explorer. Come to this PC. We're going to go to the C drive, to Users, Adama. And you'll notice that app data is not available because you need to come up here to the View, go to Options, View, and have it show hidden system files and folders and drives. Click Apply and OK. And then there's the app data. And was it local or roaming? Let's go back to the article real quick because I've forgotten. So it'll be local app data Plex Media Server. So local and right here. So this is what we want to copy. So let's do that. And we'll copy it to a temporary location. Let's just verify. Let's go back to our directions again. Okay. And it says to copy additional settings from. So you can also copy some additional settings related to the server to locate elsewhere on the system. Additional server settings are contained in the Windows registry. You may wish to save or export the registry values. That's fine. So we'll come back to that next. So what I want to do is make a copy of this directory, excluding the cache directory. So let's go back to the Dell and let's right click on this folder and get the properties and see how large it is, because it's telling us we may not want to copy the cache folder if it's very large. So we'll see what the total space occupied for the Plex Media Server is. And as you can see, it's rather large. Now we have plenty of storage space on our network, so it's not a big deal. But anything we don't need to copy, and already I can tell you it's big. So let's go into Plex Media Server and let's check the cache. Right click and go to Properties. Well, the cache is only 337 megs, so it's not really going to make that much of a difference if we copy that or not. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to right click on it and choose Copy. And then I'm going to go to my Applications folder. I'm going to go to, I have a folder here called Plex. Yeah, right there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a directory. We'll do old server 2020. And then within that directory, I'm then going to paste the contents of the Plex Media Server folder. Now this copy is going to take some time, even though it's over a gigabit. It'll be a gigabit connection, because even though I have a 10 gig network card on all my servers, this will only copy at 1 gig because it's copying the data to the Synology NAS. So I'm going to let that run, and then we'll come back when it's time to do the next step. So now I've got the data copied over to Prometheus, and here's all the folders as they are. Now the next thing they say to do is I might need to export the Windows registry key. So I'm going to go into HKey current user software Plex Inc. Plex Media Server, and I'm going to export that key. So let's go over to the Dell. Let's go to, click on the start button here, and we'll go to regedit. And let's see, HKey local machine software. Let's just verify that location again. HKey current user. So let's come back here to HKey current user software, and there's Plex Inc. So looks like there's some registry keys out here, and we're going to go ahead and export them. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to go export, and we'll call this Plex, and we're going to save it to let's save it to our desktop. So I've exported the key, so I'm going to copy this now over to my M drive into the Plex folder, and there we go. Now it's time to move over to our new Plex server, which is Prometheus. So let me do that. Bring up Prometheus, and we should have all the files here. And there they are. So now what I need to do is copy these files over to my C drive, users, Adama. Now I need to show my hidden files and folders just like I did on the other one. And that'll be under app data local, and it'll come right here into this folder. So I'm just going to right click and paste it here. Now if I'd have been thinking, I could have set up and shared this app data local folder and just copied the files there. So this is going to take some time. I need to, there's about 4 or 5 gig worth of files that need to be copied over there, so I'm not going to bore you waiting for that, but we'll come back when that step is completed. Now it's very important when you copy the files back over to the new server like I just did, that you replace any of the existing files and subdirectories that will be there from the installation I performed earlier, so which I have done that. Now I also took the registry key that was there that I had copied, and I'll show you what I did. I'm not going to do it again, but sorry, let me get on the correct drive here. So here's that registry key. So all I did was right click on it and I chose merge. And what that does is that merges it into the existing registry. So you get those keys imported. So now the next thing it tells me to do is I should reboot the destination system. It isn't necessary in all systems, but can help ensure that anything resident memory has been cleared out. And then once I've rebooted, start the Plex media server. Now that the old data is in place, open your Plex web app, and you should see your libraries, although your content is unlikely to work yet. So we'll come back to that. I'm going to go ahead and reboot that server, and then we'll come back after I've done that. Well, you didn't get to see it, but it did show that Plex had started up automatically. And you can see down here it is running. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open Plex. So now it looks like all of my libraries are here. It looks like I'm logged in correctly. So let's go and see if my libraries are here. I'm going to go to Manage Library and Edit. And I'm going to make sure it still sees my M drive, which it does. Now, let's just make sure that I have the M drive mapped. And you notice I don't. It's currently set as P drive. So what I need to do is I need to come over here to Prometheus. And I'm going to need to map that locally as drive M. And tell it reconnect its sign in. Now the other thing I need to do is I need to go ahead and I'm going to log out of Plex, and then I'm going to come down here. I'm going to exit Plex. Let's do this. We'll go ahead and log out, and then we'll sign back into Prometheus. And actually Plex will probably start up again here in just a second. But let's go out and see if we now have an M drive, and we do. Media on Prometheus. So that's a very important step. And it does look like Plex is running, so I'm going to right click, come here, open Plex. I go ahead and sign in and go to my Action Adventure. I'm going to go and edit. Make sure my folders are there. It does show that they're there. Home is not, okay, home is finally showing me something. So now the next step under this would be to sign out and back in. We've done that. Now, in order to update the content, I don't need to do this step, editing the libraries. And the reason I don't need to do that is because I've kept the same drive letter mapping. There is a step here, I thought, to re-enable the trash. Oh, that's down here on final maintenance, so I don't want to get ahead of myself. So after adding the new content folder, scan for library should start. If not, simply do a scan library files. Now, I'm going to assume I don't need to do this step or this step because I don't have an old location. So I'm going to go ahead and go back in and automatically tell it to turn to empty the trash after every new scan. So let's do that. So we'll come up here to settings and we'll tell it to empty trash automatically. Save those changes. Now the next thing it wants you to do is clean bundles for the server. Wait at least a couple of minutes even after the dialog box goes away before proceeding. I have no idea what clean bundles means. The other step is optimize database for the server. Okay, optimize database. I don't see optimize database. Go to Action Adventure. Let's see if we can actually play a video here. Mute the volume here. I don't want to get a copyright strike. There we go. So the video is playing. It is getting it correctly. Now, the other thing I'm going to do off camera is I'm going to go to my web browser on my local machine. I'm going to make sure that I can play a video. Alright, so I was able to go out to a browser. I was able to go to my Roku devices and play a video through Plex, so I'm assuming that all is well. I don't know how critical these last steps were, but I will do a little more research on that because it's not real clear where you go to do this. They say library. Alright, let's look what it says. Update automatically. Generate video previews. Generate thumbnail. Analyze tracks. Advanced. Media deletion. But I don't see any word of these last few steps, which is clean bundles and optimize database. So I'll do a little research on that and see if I can find out any more information on those for you. So there you go, YouTube. You can see there were quite a few steps involved, but frankly, it's worth it in my view. That way, you don't have to regenerate all of your scraping of all your metadata. That is a real pain in the butt. Plex is better at it than MB is. It's faster at it. So the longest part of this is waiting for basically all the files to copy over from your Plex install. Now, I was going to do MB at the same time, and I actually did, but I didn't document the MB as well as I transfer over as I did the Plex. So I'm going to do a separate version or a separate video on how to transfer MB and all of your data over. I was able to do that successfully just to prepare you. But I wanted this to be its own standalone video, so that's why I did it. But as you can see, everything is working just like it should. We've been using the new server now for about a week, and everything is running great. So yeah, no complaints. And actually, I'm glad I did it because I was able to lower the amount of power I'm using in my rack. If I don't need that Dell R710 running all the time, it consumes, about 200 watts of power at full tilt. So if it's not running there, and I cut my power usage down to 70 or 80 watts with this thing, I can buy another server with the money I've saved over the year. So there you go, a success. Now, even though I did that, we're still using MB as our main daily driver for audio and video because, it just has some features we like that Plex kind of lacks, but we run them both here. And occasionally I find myself using Plex, or if I want to go out and view a video that one of my friends have shared with me from their Plex server, then of course it comes in real handy for that. But this machine is handling the load just fine. We haven't had any issues streaming any video or what do they call that? Transcoding them. It's working flawlessly, and all the problems I had previous to this with Plex and MB have just kind of disappeared. And the key to that is a good quality video card in there. It's been my experience to stick with an NVIDIA video card, and I had that 950. This is the one that we did the fan replacement on. I couldn't get the fan, so we kind of jury-rigged it. But it's working. So there you go. So there you go, YouTube. We hope you found the video entertaining and informative. As always, please give us a thumbs up down below if you liked the video. Leave your comments in the comments section. And if you're so inclined to donate, we take PayPal or Patreon. And we have more information on that in the notes down below and in our About section. So thanks again for coming to see us. And please don't forget, we'll see you on the other side.